It's GameCube Index, and my call sign would probably just be some terrible kind of nickname. If you ever frequented a bowling alley arcade or a Chuck E. Cheese, you probably played 18-wheeler American Pro Trucker. And while the setup may have been a bit more impressive back then, with the full arcade cabinet and the steering wheel and the horn, the home console port of the game was actually on par in terms of quality. Nothing is quite like playing a driving game with a full pedal and wheel setup, but the transition to console was a relatively pure one for 18-watt. This is a significant achievement as the arcade game was first ported to the Dreamcast, and that version was ported to the PS2, and then that version was ported to the GameCube. So for the console version thrice removed to still look and feel so much like the original title, which was on an entirely different platform, it's an impressive feat due to how ports have been handled in the past. But would you expect anything less from Acclaimed Cheltenham? The same team behind previous arcade port Crazy Taxi knew how to take a game about driving from the cabinet to the couch, and the experience stayed largely the same. But let's talk about the game itself. 18-Wapped tasks the player with choosing a rig and joining the convoy. The classic arcade mode consists of racing a rival 18-wheeler from one location to the next, all while lugging precious cargo. The drive from New York to Florida may normally take a day or so, but thanks to arcade magic, the trip can be made within a couple of minutes. Actually, all of the tracks take this amount of time, and the entire game can be completed inside of an hour. However, to offset the quick gameplay, there are multiple modes of play to help boost the experience. In addition to arcade mode, there's also parking, which is what it sounds like. You have 5 places within a level to successfully park and move on. Score Attack requires completing 3 laps in the fastest time and with the most money remaining. And Versus is the resident 2-player mode. There are 4 starting characters to choose from, with a 5th unlockable, and they are unfortunately stereotypes. There's the resident cowboy, a manly man of a biker, the only character of color who's just trying to channel Soul Train, and one female who is only interested in meeting men on the road. While this is unfortunately unsurprising considering how games were made at the time, it's still annoying to see. Now that being said, the handling of the game still feels very arcade-like. The driving controls are relatively loose due to the large nature of an 18-wheeler, and this leads to some fun gameplay. Driving behind another truck will activate a slipstream, giving you a boost of speed that is usually desperately needed. The graphics look like an arcade game from 2000, so those are relatively standard. 16 years later, I personally would pass this up in an arcade, and I wouldn't spend an afternoon playing it at home. But 18-wheeler American Pro Trucker is a solid port of a one-time arcade staple, and would be fun for any fan of the genre.
That is it for this week's episode of GameCube Index. If you enjoy the videos every week, consider backing us on Patreon. Even $1 a month will do a lot to support the project and help improve the experience. It's entirely up to you. Either way, please continue to show your support by subscribing, sharing, following along on Twitter at GCNdex and at GCNdex.com. Thank you so much for watching.
Tune in next time when we essentially play Death Uber in Smashing Drive.